These looked two straightforward victories, I think, for Real Madrid and Barcelona, and it was a very, very wild night. And I think the manner of the defeats as well, it wasn't just the fact that both Barca and Real Madrid lost, it was how they lost.
Yeah, we'll start with the game of the Sanchez-Pizjuan, because it was a kind of a weird staggered night, because I think the Barcelona result was already done by the time Real Madrid started conceding regularly in the first half against Sevilla. It was a first half where Sevilla really blitzed them, really discombobulated, I suppose, the Real Madrid defenders in a way that we haven't really seen in the past 6 months to 2 years.
Yeah, that's right. Sevilla were very dynamic, very in your face, open at them. They got straight into Real Madrid from the off. And I think Real Madrid, maybe a little bit timid, and it allowed Sevilla to, control the game from the off. And you look at somebody like Luka Modric, obviously outstanding player, just won the best award. But I think even he, at 33, taken aback a little bit by the intensity of it all.
Jesus Navas is one of those players who stood out. Like, again, we kind of have these interpretations of certain players. Navas is essentially one of them, having spent time in the Premier League and gone back to Spain. A lot of people on this side of the world might view him as not necessarily a busted flush, but not necessarily somebody who should be tearing a Real Madrid side to shreds, which is exactly what he did in that first half. Yeah,
it's completely fair. And you're right, he's one of those players. It's I don't think he could put a completed cross in when he was in the Premier League. And then you look at somebody like Iago Aspas as well, famous for that corner kick, and there he goes, he's scoring goals every week in La Liga.
Take us through Navas's performance last night, because it really was consummate. He caused Real woeful hassle down that right flank for Sevilla.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the way that Real Madrid play is very open. They do leave gaps in behind in fullback areas. And funnily enough, from that Manchester City era, Navas is probably a little bit more balanced. He's learned that under Pep Guardiola. He's played at right back even for Sevilla, like he did at Man City. But last night he had free rein to attack, and he caused a lot of problems. Again, he got behind them time and time again, because this Real Madrid side didn't really have that much protection in midfield to track the wingers. Up
until last night, obviously, Real had only conceded 3 times. It's not as if we're going to be pressing the panic button for them, but there are certain alarm bells that should be ringing on behalf of Julen Lopetegui coming off the back of this defeat last night.
Yeah, I think so. To see a Real Madrid side overawed like this, and then not respond at all in any way. I think Sevilla, they scored 3, but they could have had 6 or 7. And that's no exaggeration. Real Madrid were really taken apart. At times it's poor, and there's a lot of work to do. It's early in the season, but they've got Atletico Madrid at the weekend in the big derby, and an immediate response is required.
How much was it of a distraction was those best awards in the UK? We kind of shrugged them off, but the fact you have a decent chunk of your squad heading over away from training a couple of 48 hours or so before a key game like that, it's hardly ideal preparation, and it's we can't afford to be dropping points this early in the season, even if they have been let off the hook somewhat by Barcelona losing to Leganes like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Real Madrid really sent all their stars. They love the glitz and glamour of events like this.
Galacticos at the end of the day, David.
Exactly. They've got appearances to keep here. And that was a great moment for them. So, but that criticism has already been levelled at them in the Spanish press, and obviously jokingly, as you can imagine, from Barcelona. Maybe they shouldn't have all gone. Maybe they shouldn't have lauded it up.
Yeah, it's a strange one on their behalf. All right, no pride and no heart, wrote Thomas Roncero in AS. Overnight as well. I guess that's going to be the most galling aspect from them. Yeah. Is that not necessarily that they were, there's a couple of mistakes, whatever. It's that they didn't show any effort, didn't show any great desire to actually turn this thing around. Try as they might, they just didn't have it in them, and that's not something you can afford.
No, absolutely not. With Real Madrid goes the mentality of you leave blood on the shirt, basically. I know they have this glitz and glamour persona, but you look at guys like Ramos and then other characters they've had down the years. They've had warriors, and you do not go down without a whimper, but there was absolutely nothing at all from them.
On the Sevilla side of things, they've made a fairly respectable start to the season. That win just leaves them just 3 points off the top. You have players like Andre Silva and Wissam Ben Yedder. Like, Ben Yedder is one of those, I've never been able to get my head around him. He obviously came into top flight football almost sideways, the way he came about things, but always seems to impress against the bigger teams. We saw it against Liverpool in the Champions League a couple of times last term. Last night against Real Madrid as well. And Silva seems to be performing well for them too. If they can keep scoring goals, if they can still have that supply line from Jesus Navas and others, they are a team again that could cause issues to the quote unquote bigger sides.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and you point out the 2 strikers. They both play with a chip on their shoulder. Ben Yedder is rarely recognised among France's top strikers. He's never in the conversation. And Andre Silva, obviously, very highly rated in Portugal, but his high-profile move to Milan didn't work out. So they've both got a lot to prove, they feel, all the time. And there's no greater stage to do that against teams like Real Madrid and Barcelona.
Does that snobbishness carry over to Spain in terms of the view of Ben Yedder? Because I've always been kind of left aghast by it.
Yeah, it does, and you can tell the way that he acts on social media as well. He gets a lot of stick, and people will just say, like, you're not very good. And I don't know, he kind of thrives off it, and it plays well for him. And he's a very intelligent player. I mean, I know he played indoor football when he came through, and you can see in the way he moves on the field, and he's very, very intelligent. He's very sharp around the final third. What he does off the ball is as important as what he does on it.
We'll move on to that defeat, the one that I suppose came earlier in the night last night for Barcelona, 2-1 going down away to Leganes, who remain bottom of the table, or towards the bottom of that table, even in spite of that win last night. This is almost as surprising. And again, another former Liverpool man getting on the score sheet, Nabil El Jar.
Yeah,
they just keep popping up everywhere in Spain.
Yeah, exactly. Jonathan Chieri just scored tonight as well. He was at West Ham, of course. So there's a theme here. And I think Barcelona's attitude, response to going behind was actually worse than Real Madrid's. And lots of high-profile errors with Barcelona, and especially Gerard Piqué, who looks badly out of shape and out of form.
We were talking last week about Barcelona freshening up the side, the likes of Arturo Vidal coming through. It's going to be first starts from Malcolm, etc., over the past of the last week or thereabouts. It seems that they've freshened up the side. We saw Thomas Vermaelen made a mug of at times as well last night. Maybe the depth Barcelona once had isn't necessarily as strong. They do have bodies there, but perhaps they're not as capable of filling the gaps as previous second strings, again in quotes, might have been.
Yeah, absolutely. I think down the years they've had a lot better quality on the bench, but sometimes you see them now put a squad out, and they don't really instill that much fear into their opponents. Obviously, they've still got Messi. As long as you've got Messi in that squad, then okay, you're going to, opponents are going to fear you. But outside of him, no, there's no one really to fear anymore. Xavi's gone, Iniesta's gone. There's not really much there, and teams feel they can get at them, they can hurt them.